Hey guys, let's take a look at some of these charts, see where we're at, see if we're getting closer to, see if I'm getting closer to my levels in alts for DCAing, what I think is happening in Bitcoin according to the charts, trying to keep emotion out of it. Right now, Bitcoin's sitting 59,434. All right, so let's just take a moment and breathe. All right, let's take a look here. Let's zoom in a little bit on the daily and see what we're looking at here. I put this chart out in the Alpha Factory, and it looks like we could be forming a diamond here. Now, diamonds can be pretty messy. They're basically never symmetrical. And it can shoot down and still be a diamond, right? But this is where we're at right now. And if this is what happens, then we could get a little bit of a whipsaw here, washing out the shorts and then washing out the longs. And then once it takes off and breaks out of the diamond, it typically it typically goes quick. So this is kind of what I'm watching right now. We're still right around these historical support levels of the cost of production, Bitcoin cost of production ribbon, the 200-week moving average, and the logarithmic regression band. So massive historical support here. As you can see, if one breaks, something catches on the others. Up here, it didn't even get down to the log regression band. It got caught on the 200-day moving average, broke a little bit through the cost of production ribbon, but one of these three has virtually always caught it unless it was a short little uh, wick down that basically lasted a few hours, maybe minutes, maybe seconds. And if that's the case, virtually nobody got this wick. It just got eaten up by a few people. So some people say, oh, look, it wicked down another 20%. I'm going to wait for that to happen. Well, if it wicks down, what is this, 22%? I looked into it and it lasted seconds or minutes and not even on all the exchanges. So, and even the people that would have had buy orders in, it's not guaranteed to hit it. It doesn't hit everybody's buy order always. So it's risky, extremely risky, reckless even, some might say, to try to wait for that wick and try to time it. So I'm still convinced and I'm still taking action here in this range. I have a few buy orders in just in case it breaks down. I have a buy order in still at 57.5 and I have a buy order in at 55.5. So not a lot further down from where we are, but I've done the bulk of my buying in this range here. Some in here, some in here. Tried not to buy too much up here, tried to buy within the ribbon itself. And like I said, I have one here, one about here, and one about here. So we'll see if those hit. And I'm still not emptying my bags. I'm still going to have a good amount of stables when these hit. So if it does go a little bit lower, I can pick some up. Or if it has a big rebound, then I can start looking at some alts. And probably about 60% of my portfolio right now is Bitcoin. Maybe about 20% or so is currently in stables, and then I have some I have some Sui and I have some Tau, some dust amongst some other coins. But the plan is also to be using my Bitcoin to eventually buy some of these alts when the timing's correct. I don't think it is right now. So that's how I'm playing it. Bitcoin right now in the bottom zone is less volatility. I still have exposure to the market. Um, And then once the market proves to me that it's turning around, then I can use a portion of that Bitcoin to turn around and buy some of my alts when I see that they are in a good spot for buying. So that's my strategy right now. So if we do zoom out on Bitcoin and take a look here, what do we see? Let me get rid of these. So yeah, I do think we are forming a bottom. That doesn't mean that we can't get a wick down or spend some time below it. It can happen, but it's not guaranteed to happen, and the amount of time that we hang out down there is also uncertain. So looking at past bottoms, what does it look like where we are right now? So take a look at the BDZ score, and every time it triggered on the 2-week, it triggered and it didn't turn around right away. It triggered and then it kind of went sideways and down for a while. It triggered and then it went sideways for a while. It triggered and then it went sideways and down. And that's basically what we're seeing. It didn't really take off, right? This signaled, okay, we are in accumulation zone. We are in accumulation zone. And that's what we saw here. Let me turn this off for a moment. That's what we saw here. We were in accumulation zone. Same thing over here, accumulation zone. Oops. Same thing over here, accumulation zone. Same thing over here, accumulation zone. Same thing currently, in my opinion, accumulation zone. Okay, how long does it last and what does it look like? Well, if we look at these two indicators here, the BDZ and the MACD, we can see that it triggered, it went up, it crossed the moving average. Down here, let me zoom in here. You can see down on the MACD, we got a cross here, and then it started to change from red to green after this cross. So let's put some lines on here. Let's change the color of them a little bit so that they're more noticeable and they stand out from the BDZ a little bit. Okay, we got the cross here, change of color from red to green, change of momentum. Put that there. We got the cross. We got the change of momentum from red to green here. All right, we haven't had that yet. We haven't had the cross. It teased it and then started widening out again, and then we started printing more red. So we're waiting for that cross, and we're waiting for it to flip from pink to green. So when is that going to happen? I'm not sure, but let's just throw something on here just to have something on the chart. Okay, let's just say it's sometime during this summer. We're heading into July here in a few days. Let's say it's mid-August. And we kind of play around where we're at right now. Okay. What does that look like on the BDZ score? I missed this one here. I missed COVID. So COVID, where is it here? Because you couldn't see. Let me zoom in a little bit here on COVID. We didn't go down quite as far. The cross happened up here. That's why I didn't see it. So the cross and then the flip happened about there. Okay, and then the BDZ, that's what I was looking for. The BDZ lines up pretty much every time. You get this cross on the MACD, the change in momentum, and then it also crosses the moving average on the BDZ score on the 2-week. Right here, crosses, very close. It crossed here on the BDZ, but shortly after we got the cross on the MACD. Very close, right? Within a week or so. Same here, pretty much exact timing. We got a cross here the BDZ score crosses. That's what we were watching for over here. It crossed, kind of played around, and then finally it was, or the real cross happened again, basically aligned. That's what we're watching for here. It teased it, got a rejection, has come back down. So what I'm watching for is for the BDZ to turn around, come across the moving average, and for the MACD to turn from red to green, and that is a confirmation, has been a confirmation that things are 100% have bottomed, like virtually 100% have bottomed, as close as you can get, I guess. And then that's when I start paying more attention to alts and getting in and holding for longer periods than just short little trades, short little swing trades where I'm making 20, 10, 20, 30% on some of these swing trades, 50% on hype. Um, but that's what I'm watching for. I'm watching for this cross, this confluence to happen, and that's going to assure me, raise my confidence that this bottom range is now over and we're starting to work our way out of it. We're starting to get out. You see, once this happened, oh, we had one more little dip here. Somebody got an extra opportunity, but then we were gone. So that's what I'm watching for on a higher time frame. Some of the alts that I'm watching and what I'm watching for, discussed many times, but I'm looking at FET, Tau, Render, and Hype. Right now, FET doesn't look super attractive to me at this point. Right? It's at a pretty solid support level actually right now that I'm looking at it. On the daily, we're pretty low. Let's go to a higher time frame and take a look at the BDZ. BDZ is also low here. It's low here. Last time we had a signal. It was pretty close to where we're at now, actually. Not too much lower, maybe another 10%. Last time we got a signal was here, in around this range. So we'll see if FET will tell us over the next little while if this is the low, and if we're not going to come back and visit this next low range down here where there's support, and that support down here probably lines up pretty well with this trend line here at the bottom. So if we continue to go sideways, and if Bitcoin kind of tries to figure itself out, possibly finish that diamond over the next month and a half or so, going into mid-August, well, then maybe some of these alts continue to find their way lower. And if FET continues to do that, then we could get somebody who's interested in FET could get another 30-40% discount before we get back down there. And if we look at this on a higher time frame, we still have some room to go here on the BDZ score before it triggers. So that's something to look out for. So I'm not jumping into FET right now. If this proves to be the bottom, then that's fine. So it'll probably do something like this and then work its way out, I would guess. I could be wrong. But if that's something that happens and it works its way outside of the pattern, because this is the bottom and it does something more similar to this, kind of works its way sideways until Bitcoin's ready to go, then that's a good signal and we get in with a little bit more security, a little bit. We just have to show some patience. Now, looking at Tau, similar situation where FET was in it's currently in a range of strong support. Tau is in a range of strong support. So Tau's been in this flag pattern for years, since October, since basically, yeah, December 2023. It's been just flagging out, flagging out. If you were to buy the bottom of this range every time that it came down, you started buying when it signaled in these ranges here. If you bought this range, then you're basically buying at the price it is now. If you bought this range, then you're basically buying the price that it is now. Same here, unless you got these wicks. And over here, you could have got, if you bought a wick, you could have got a little bit cheaper. Right? So right now is not a terrible time to accumulate tau. I have a small bag of tau. I didn't buy it at the perfect time. I bought it around here. Um, I was waiting for the BDZ to trigger at the top. I was expecting it to come up here. I was doing a little bit of a swing trade. It never happened. I'm still holding it. Whatever. I think in the long run, anywhere in this range is going to be solid because it'll eventually, I believe it'll eventually break out and do some incredible things when we get a real bull market. When all the macro is finally aligned and we get an actual bull market, I think it'll do well. So I want a better average, so I'm trying to be patient on this, and I'm waiting for us to get back, for Tau to get back and tease these areas down here. And it has some room to go down on the BDZ so that we could most likely, in my opinion, see that happen. So that's what I'm watching for on Tau. Again, patience. Could take these things to get good entries, it could take months. Got to be patient. I'm not always the most patient. I'm trying to be more patient. Now looking here at render, let me clean this up a little bit. We're getting a little bit low here on the stochastics, which is nice. Not quite low enough in my opinion yet. We're still looking at the weekly time frame. Look here, things are rolling over into bearish territory for the MACD. We still have quite a ways to go, possibly here for the BDZ score. Looks like we're trying to, or it wants to work its way back into this pattern that it broke out of. Let's see here. Can we be more generous? So maybe bullish, the most bullish bearish scenario, if that makes sense, is we stay outside and just kind of ride this down without falling back in. If it falls back in, then there's a good chance that we come back, render comes back down and visits this bottom trend line here. And that would be a good entry if you like render. So that's one that I do like. I do want to accumulate some render, but again, I want to be patient. I bought some render here, I sold some render here. So if I could buy it down here, the same amount of dollars would give me a lot more render. But we're getting pretty close to some pretty strong historical horizontal support down here. So it might be a good idea if you're thinking about holding some long term, or which I am. I want to try to speak about myself. I'm thinking about holding some long term, so I'm going to consider strongly beginning a position again in and around this range here, in and around 130, $1.30 or so, which, because I took profit right up here, I love it when that happens. Which, if I took the amount that I sold, the dollar amount that I got when I sold, and I bought it back in down here, I would get a discount 45%. So I'd get another 45% more tokens for the same dollars. So we'll see. That would be nice. And then if it happens, then I would buy more down here and lower my average entry. Taking a look at Hyperliquid, another one that I really like, but way too high. It's way overextended. This is crazy. There's also some sort of event going on with Hype right now where the community is involved in using the different applications and building up points, and at some point hasn't been announced, but at some point probably within the next couple months they're going to announce the end of the event, and they're going to reward all of the people that were participating, their community, whether it's an airdrop or a claim, whatever it is. There's going to be a massive amount of tokens released, and it's probably going to be a big sell event. So I am avoiding it right now. I bought down here. I sold in these two red lines. So I'm still in profit from where I sold, of course. And my average sell price is above where it's at right now, the current price. So if we see a similar correction to where we did at this peak over here, and if you zoom in a little closer, you got a double top here, like a big M, which isn't very bullish. And if you did something like that, you move that down, brings us to around $40, $40 or so on this M pattern. However, if you were to put a Fibonacci here, I believe it was the 786 that it came down to last time. Yeah, brought us back down to almost exactly the 786, a little shy. Zoom in here a little bit better. A little shy of the 786, almost. And if we were to do something similar, this move to the 786, that would bring us down to $32. I wouldn't be waiting for, or I'm not going to be waiting for that. It's not guaranteed to happen. But I'll be looking. There's a lot of support here between the 618 and the 702, and it actually aligns pretty well with this double top measured move. So I'll probably be looking to get back in at around the $40 to $35 range. Again, I'll be watching it to see how it lines up with the BDZ score and the MACD score on a higher time frame. A week is a little bit too high perhaps because the history is not so long. So maybe watching it here on a 4-day for when it comes back down and starts showing something interesting, right? When the MACD and the BDZ score align, it's pretty good. So we'll get here we had a trigger, MACD wasn't ready. Here we had a trigger, the MACD started cooling down, had a cross, and that's when things actually took off. So using these in tandem is pretty slick. So that's what I'm looking at. Oil has come down a lot. Came down basically to pre-war prices. It's moved back up a little bit, but that's a long drop, so that's expected. From the top, from the peak back here, I don't know if it's peaked here or peaked here, but it's basically a double top, and from here it's down. It went down 36% for oil. That's massive, and now it's back to about 32%. So I would expect it to kind of find its legs in around this area. This is pretty solid support and right around the median over the last the last 6 years. So if oil can settle in around this level, I think that'll be healthy for markets. And then, in my opinion, what we're going to see is probably inflation has spiked, and we'll see that reflected in the numbers over the next couple of months because it's lagging, right? We just had May's numbers released today for the trimmed mean PCE, and that was at 2.4%, 0.1% higher than last month. And as oil starts flowing, costs start coming down. It's going to take a little while for that to trickle over into goods, but eventually we'll start seeing the inflation roll over in the numbers. It just takes time because it's lagging data. So yeah, to me, I'm guessing we're going to see the Fed just hold probably through the summer, and then conversation is going to pivot from how many hikes this year to how many cuts this year once again. Keep an eye on that. All right, guys, I'm going to leave it there. Moral of the story is I'm in just kind of a watch and wait and see. I have my buy orders in for Bitcoin for all of my alts, just not in buying range for me just yet, but I'm keeping a close eye. Building my Bitcoin position so that I have exposure to the market in case or once there is a big turn up, but my downside exposure is limited. All right, guys, I'm gonna leave it there. Enjoy your day, your evening. Do the whole YouTube thing for me. Like it, subscribe, and we'll see you over in the Alpha Factory.